Welcome to Skinnovation Lab podcast. Today we're going to be talking all things sun protection and sunscreen. We have had our listeners give us feedback, and we've had listeners as far as Norway. We look forward to growing our listening audience. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments, either in YouTube or Instagram.
Welcome back to Skinnovation.
How are you, Dr. Badulis?
Well, I'm doing great. I am sun protected, which I think is the theme of our episode today.
It is. Yep. Today, the theme is demystifying sunscreen.
And so we have a lot. You can see we have our products laid out to discuss. We've got our hats to talk about later, but we have been encountering a lot of questions by patients, by people in even our own medical community about sunscreen. So we wanted to, go through the different products, talk about little tips and tricks, and pull up a chair.
Yep.
Have science have a seat at the table. When you are talking to patients, how do you frame sunscreen? Like, there are some people that say we don't have to use it. Why are we recommending this?
Yeah, or that people say that sunscreen causes skin cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sunscreen and sun protection are these primary preventive measures. So it's something that we recommend to prevent premature aging of the skin and onset of sun-related skin cancer. Mm-hmm. So we're hoping to actually stop skin cancer from even developing.
And I think it's interesting because, for example, today we were in clinic. We had a great day in our Skinnovation Lab clinic, but a lot of what we are doing in our clinics and with our different devices is turning back the clock, taking the effects of UV damage and reversing them. But when we think about it, and people spend a lot of time, money, and, they go through pain to reverse that. But there's one thing that can prevent a lot of that photo damage, and it is
it's all right here.
It's all right here. We're going to go through these products later, but in terms of sunscreen, what are some things that we should be looking for? Like what's the basic unit of a sunscreen?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's important to know we have some products that are in the US and a couple that we've actually purchased overseas that we use. In the US, sunscreens are categorized as over-the-counter drugs. Mm-hmm. And in Asia and in Europe, they're categorized as cosmetics. So the regulations in the US are a lot more strict. And so one of the things is we don't always have the best sunscreens in the US, but we'll tell you which ones are the best ones here in the US.
Yeah. And so these products, we are not, like Dr. Ron said, we are not endorsing any, we are not, there's no paid promotion here. There might be in the future. But there's nothing, these are things that we have both brought from home. Products that we use, and I'd be so curious to know, what did you pick up on a trip? Which of these sunscreens?
Yes. Yeah, so when I went to London last year, I picked up this product that has the UVA or PAA rating. We'll talk about that, where it was developed, and how in the US you may not see that. You may see different terminologies, but yeah, this La Roche-Posay, which I really like.
And we'll share an image of this on the screen so it's closer. And it's interesting. So you can see even here on the labeling, they go through the different wavelengths of the light. So when we think about light, there's UVA and UVB. And it's so interesting that there are different chemicals and different ingredients that are targeted and absorb each of those wavelengths.
Yeah.
So we were just chatting before, and in the United States, we were talking about one of our favorite UVA absorbers is avobenzone. But there are other products out there in other countries. So you were talking about some things that would be available in Europe, right?
Yes. Yeah. So we're talking about products that are available in Europe, but not available here, including Mexeril.
Mexeril and Tinazor.
Tinazor are the two main ones. And we hope that they would be available. There is some legislation in the US that is going to expand how sunscreens are brought to market.
Gloves. So I'll tell you a story. One day, so I was at the Palo Alto VA, and I saw, I was a sun protected god walking across the courtyard. And I mean, you literally wouldn't know who this was. They were either in a witness protection or they were a dermatologist. And it was you. And because you have the cool bar. What would we call that even? Like the mask?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It can connect to the hat
Yes.
And of course, the wide brim hat. So
at least 3-inch brim. This is a little
exactly.
more generous, but these gloves
more than that.
are great for driving.
Yes.
And you're talking about in clinic was the difference between windshields, right? So the front windshield versus the sides.
Yeah. It turns out that this has nothing to do with sun protection. The goal was if you get into an accident that the windshield doesn't crack and then fall into a million pieces. So it's actually laminated. And because we study light and are experts in light biology, because it has these laminated sheets, it actually has an index of refraction mismatch. So a lot of the light, especially ultraviolet light A, will bounce back in the front windshields. But the side windows do not have that lamination. So you can get ultraviolet light A from the left side of the face, and that people are more likely to get skin cancer on the left side of their face. So we know that ultraviolet light A also contributes to skin cancer.
Yeah. And so in terms of like the different types of sunscreen, so we have some here. One is a brush. This is a powder sunscreen. I'm gonna demonstrate it for our audience, but this is nice too. So this is a Sunforgettable brush from Color Science, but essentially you can just go right onto the face, and it has a little bit of a mineral sunscreen in it, and that's a perfect segue into the difference between mineral and chemical. What do you like?
Yeah. So the FDA actually has a category called GRACE, so generally recognized as safe and effective. And there's only two that they have in there, zinc oxide and titanium. And both of those are physical blockers, which has been great because there's a lot of companies that are bringing out physical blockers. The problem with physical blockers is they can leave sort of a white film.
Yeah.
This is great because it doesn't do that. But someone like me who has pigment in their skin, we need something that matches. So a number of the ones we have here actually do have tint. And what makes up this tint is actually iron oxide. So you can kind of see it. This is really nice because it releases the iron oxide as you rub it, which is really fun.
Oh, it does go in nice.
And I use this instead of any kind of foundation. So you can see the difference. Well, and it matches nicely.
That's the trend, right? Sunscreen is makeup.
Yes, exactly.
Skincare is makeup.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that we've come to a point where I think there's been a convergence, right? So the cosmetic companies and the science, they're meeting to meet the consumer. And we love to see that. And I think that as the different ingredients get better, we'll have only better sunscreens. One other sunscreen that I love, the lips. So Dr. Rahman and I have had a number of cases at our different clinics, including the VA, where if you get sun exposure on the lips, you can develop pre-cancer potential there called actinic cheilitis. Okay. And this I'm going to pull a little bit on.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It's nice.
That's wonderful.
It's wonderful, but it has this is an Aquaphor example, but it has the SPF 30, which brings us to ratings. Hold on, everyone. We're going to talk about a logarithmic scale. Okay, now they've logged off. But what do we know about the SPF ratings, right? Because in school, in dermatology school, residency, you're told you tell the patients 30 and above.
Yeah. So this is a logarithmic scale, and you don't have to,
We'll put on an image right now.
Yeah, you don't have to nerd out too much, but what it is it shows you that it's not linear. So it's not like an SPF 30 is going to give you twice as much protection as an SPF 15.
Which is mind-blowing, right? Because those numbers.
Exactly. Yeah. So it increases and then it levels out. So an SPF 15 will give you about 94% protection. And SPF 30 will give you only about 98%. So it's not that much more. So
right. It's the difference of like 4 photons, which is hard to conceptualize. But I think people, they equate that higher number with a better outcome. And then they have maybe more of a white cast or something. And they're like, well, I'm just not going to use sunscreen, period. I'm so curious to know about the PA rating. I have actually never heard of that because we don't use it in the United States.
Yeah, it's not used in the US. So it's actually developed in the 1990s in Japan.
Yeah.
So they have a PA plus up to PA++++, so 4. And that's not even recognized in the US. But in the US, the SPF number only covers UVB. And of course, this new legislation will hopefully be more broad spectrum. So it would have wavelengths of ultraviolet light A as well, which are longer wavelengths. And we initially thought that they don't cause skin cancer, but we know they cause premature aging.
They do.
And skin cancer.
How do we determine level of sunscreen, of sun protection?
Yeah.
What's the test for that?
So the way it's done now is actually what's called in vivo. So there's human subjects that come and volunteer for this. They bring people into the study lab, and what they do is they apply the sunscreen and then they put ultraviolet light on the patient's skin, send them home, have people come in, and they look for something called minimal erythema dose, or MED. And where it doesn't turn red, they can determine the SPF rating. So that's where that number comes from. Let's be honest here.
Okay.
We are trying to get people to just live in a cave.
That's right.
Always stay out of light, and we're trying to ruin people's lives.
Sounds like you're a dermatologist. No, that's not right.
No, we love the sun. There would be no life on Earth without the sun.
Listen, you're looking at two people who love light.
Yes.
We love lasers. We love the sun. In terms of the tint, so we have here, you can see, look at this line of tint on my hand. So this is a tinted sunscreen. And in the function of these tinted sunscreens are twofold. One, so we were talking earlier about, this is a little, not exactly my skin tone.
Not his color.
But it's for demonstration purposes. Okay.
Yeah.
So the idea is that, sunscreen is make up other things like this. There is the iron oxide in here that will block visible light. And you're thinking, wow, you guys have really lost your minds. Now we have to avoid the visible light. Yes and no. So basically, especially patients who are have melasma or other pigmentary, conditions, visible light can be triggering. Visible light can cause, worsening of that darkness, and especially for patients with melasma. But in general, we would recommend a tinted sunscreen. So it is not necessarily the same as like avobenzone that's blocking the UVA light. It is scattering the light before it can reach the skin. It's doing a great job on my hand that looks orange now, but
you're right. It is kind of for demonstration purposes. Yeah, for those of you who have pigmentary issues like melasma, we really want to block that visible light that comes from our screens, our phones, from overhead lighting. That can stimulate that pigmentation. So that's where those iron oxide
are really helpful. And the goal is that you can find one that matches your skin.
Yeah, this is like my favorite one. Like this is another one.
So, this is the light sheer, the light sheer that you have right there. Yeah. Okay, I gotta wash. I gotta get. I'm gonna get this everywhere.
Part of that is the eyelid skin, which is hard to put sunscreen on, and hence your cool sunglasses.
Yes, and I'm trying to find them.
Yeah, where are they?
They're right here. So when do you wear sunglasses?
The Ray-Bans.
Do you wear? You're like Anna Wintour, where she shows up to clinic. Or the patient's room.
And my sunglasses. I wear sunglasses whenever I am outside.
Yeah.
So
or driving.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Or driving. I think it's really important because you don't want to. One is because I have brown eyes, I'm at high risk for cataract. So I don't want to get ultraviolet light related cataract. Using sunglasses is important because we don't want to get skin cancer around our eyes, which people definitely do.
I just saw a patient this week has a basal cell carcinoma on the eyelid.
Yeah, just on the eyelid. And that can, when it's removed and repaired, can lead to like permanent, what's called ectropion, where the skin is pulled down and so the eye gets dry. But you can also get cataract from ultraviolet light. So that's another reason.
Yeah, and one thing that we look for in sunglasses are polarized sunglasses, and so that's a good example here,
and stylish.
And stylish. We talked about UVB and cancer. UVA is a deep penetrator into the skin, and it actually degrades collagen. And one thing that we've been working on as a study is looking at use of retin-A or retinoids to increase the thickness of the skin to prevent that the forces, those shear forces on the skin, and cause the skin to break and for little bruises to form. If you think about some older people who've had sun exposure in your own life, even your own family members, they'll have bruising on the arms. And this is from sun.
Yeah, and it's distressing. Sometimes a lot of those patients are on blood thinners.
Yeah.
They want to stop their blood thinners because they're getting bruising. And so people see them and say, is everything okay? Is something wrong? And so we want them to obviously not stop their blood thinners, particularly if it could be life-saving.
Of course,
But we want to help build that collagen. And you're right, ultraviolet light, because it's a longer wavelength of light, will penetrate deeper. And and through reactive oxygen
Yes.
species, it can cause damage. One of the things that we do as dermatologists is we try to convince our patients to use sun protection. And it turns out that people are more motivated to do things that are anti-aging and anti-cancer. Harder to think about cancer in the future, but easier to think about anti-aging. So if you want to do an anti-aging, and this has actually been published, sunscreen alone can actually reverse some aging of the skin.
Yeah, and it's readily accessible, relatively affordable, and there's no real risk. So it's kind of a win-win-win-win.
So we as laser specialists love to think about the interaction of light with our skin.
Yes.
And we think of these things called chromophores, whether it's melanin, which is pigment, or hemoglobin or water. And so the question is, what is the chromophore for ultraviolet light?
DNA. It's DNA. And that is so, when you think about it, it's a kind of an elegant answer to why we are trying to use sunscreen, is to prevent that interaction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you get these pyrimidine dimers.
Yeah.
They're actually called UV signatures because those mutations are only after ultraviolet light B exposure. So we know that ultraviolet light B causes problems. So we want you to enjoy the sun, but do it in a way that's reasonable. Let's talk about why people love to go to tanning beds, or why. This is a good one.
So people tanning, like you're like tanning addiction, right?
Yeah.
And so it actually comes to a point where it's not really about the way that their skin looks, right? It is because UV light causes a boost to mood, and it can become addictive. Why is that though?
Because it releases endorphins. So the same thing you might get with taking some drugs. That's why it's so addictive, right? And we talk again about there'd be no life on Earth without the sun.
It's so hardwired.
Exactly, to love being in the sun. That's why it feels so good. We don't blame you for wanting to go outside. We love it too, but just do it sensibly.
Absolutely. I totally forgot about that.
Really that's a good one.
That's a good one.
All right.
So this was a really good discussion on sunscreen, sun protection today. What are you going to take away from this?
I think the takeaways hopefully are that the SPF number in the US is a UVB, but there is some legislation to get more UVA protection.
That's amazing. My takeaway is sunscreen does not block joy. It just blocks mutation.
Yeah.